I'm Geoff McFetridge, and this is Beastie Boys Story Illustrated.
Now, here's a little story I got to tell about three bad brothers you know so well.
I started collaborating with the Beastie Boys around 1996 when I became the art director for Grand Royal magazine. As a fan of the Beastie Boys and working with them on and off for 25 years, I think it gives me like a broad perspective of this band that I have so much respect for. In making these posters, I was really interested in focusing on the Beastie Boys' creativity in their work. And I feel like using the iPad was a great tool to just spontaneously create in a very quick way. The sketches that I did on the iPad to begin the project, it was like, well, can I do one drawing that captures anything to do with the spirit of the Beastie Boys? I wanted to have them moshing in a circle. The instruments are gone. They've picked up the mics. So this is using the physicality of the guys and turning it into some sort of like hieroglyphic language explaining like the energy of the time. But then the thing I added like at the end was this Mobius mic cord. It's a reference to the style, the way they recorded the music, like all rapping the same lines and then like bouncing back and forth, but it's also like Beastie Boys as one entity. This is the check your head era. The shock of the Beastie Boys, not just with microphones, but with instruments. This poster was them at their most abstract, but sort of passing this shadow of like they were in this outsized influence on the world of like making this music that was so visceral and maybe more familiar. It felt like it came out of my friend's parents' basement. They just looked like skater guys, the wonky sort of anonymity of them, but they carry a lot of weight. They're attached, which is sort of a theme. In all the posters, they're one unit melted together. The Sabotage video was seismic. When this video came out, it was like a powerful piece of culture that came out of the Beastie Boys, but it was also Spike. These two groups of people at their best. They made themselves iconic. They sort of disappeared into these like caricatures, and it was like primarily Car, this caprice drawn from memory that it basically becomes a cop car. This is the one poster that got a ton of movement, which I think is funny because like this era of costumes and pretending and just sort of play. And I think that aspect of being a band that is both serious and full of attitude, but at the same time, it's like the longest game of dress up ever played, in front of millions of people. I sort of made it speaking about that Beastie Boys sort of act as like one unit, this robot costume. Each of them have a part of it. The mastermind, the tape loop maker, and then the Mike D with one big foot and this giant arm. And, it's showing that none of it's really functioning. You see, as I evolved this poster, I went from them just sort of standing there to like what made it better was I gave them more attitude and they started thrusting their arms in the air. They were sort of like, yes, don't fuck with us, But in the meantime, they're in these ridiculous cardboard robot costumes, but they still have this B-boy, we're the best, don't step to us vibe. They made something culturally that's even more real than the real them, that like culture goes on, it lives in a way more than actual humans. There's something really sort of important that I want to capture in this last poster. And so that's why I wrote the title for this actually before I did the drawing, which was A Spiritual Quest on the Front Line of Popular Culture. Mike D is like the struggle. He's like coiled energy, about to go. And then Adam Horowitz is like always in the air to like out-rap, out-b-boy everybody on the block. And then Yauch is like on the wheel of life, like he's much closer to the center. He's moved into the middle and his energy is like a spiritual energy. What's sort of like funny about this, but then is also sort of poignant because he's also the one that we've lost. And so the magic of it is also wrapped in a sort of sadness. There was so much of their like artistic development that was done at the zenith of their fame. Each one of these images is sort of capturing the guys at like a physical, iconic truth about themselves. I draw so much. The amount of time a drawing takes makes a real difference. How much work I get done. working on the iPad, like I could very quickly start to sketch and come up with ideas to a finished product. I think the Beastie Boys story is so relevant now. They were making stuff for each other. You make culture that is most relevant to the world right around you, which most often is your friends. Make work for your friends. For me, that's like the best of culture. Like that's the stuff I love.